Hello and welcome to the next in our series of active self-paced trainings. In this training, we're going to talk about activities and building them from scratch. This is going to be a multi-part self-paced training. I try to keep these to 10 minutes. In order to do that, we're going to break this activities build up into multiple sessions. So I'll try to make sure that every one of them is described and what sections are going to cover. But this is going to be the starting one where we're going to talk about creating the activity and doing the initial building blocks for getting things ready to offer to our customers and members. So let's jump right into it. So here I am in the activities search screen. You should be very familiar with this by this time. And what we're going to do here is normally we would search for our swim class, right? And we'd come up with a million different results. In this case, we're going to build from scratch. Now, I don't recommend building from scratch all the time. In fact, it's much better if you take the programs that you already have, that are already tested, that are already adjusted, and everything is working correctly, and just copy them forward. And we'll do a session on how to copy programs from one season to the next. But I felt it was going to be important to go through the process of building one from scratch. That way you have a better idea and a better understanding of what each of the fields means, how each of those fields will affect registration, and possibly even understand how they're going to impact things like rostering and facility use. So let's get into it. I'm going to click Add New, and it's going to come up with the general information. This is typically the first page that you see when you go in and you edit an activity. And we're going to call this Super Activity of Fun. That's going to be the name of our activity. It is an activity type activity. There are multiple activity types. We have events, leagues, packages, and private lessons. Each of these does something a little different. But for this one, we're going to focus on activities. The number is going to be the system-generated number. That's just going to be the ID that comes up for this activity. If we had an external number, we would put that here. However, we don't tend to use external numbers, so you're going to leave that blank. We're going to pick a season. So let's do the summer 2024. If your season has multiple sections, like a summer 1 and a summer 2, this is where you would pick that. If it's something that goes for the entire summer, you're going to just pick the season and you can skip the term altogether. Now, I get asked this question a lot. Somebody will say like, well, Jim, my season or my program begins like the last week of summer 1. So is it a summer 1 or a summer 2 program? And my answer is always the same, is whatever season and term that your program begins in, whatever the first day is, that is the season or term that you put it in. All right. Even if you have a 10-week program and only 1 week is going to be in summer 1 and the rest of it is going to be in summer 2, that to me is a summer 1 program. Part of this is just, it really doesn't affect much, but it's just a rule of thumb to say if we all consistently do it the same way, then when we're searching for something in the system, it'll be easier for us to find. We're going to leave this as a summer program with no term attached to it. I'm going to leave the status as tentative for now because we need to build this program. I want to make sure that everything is built before I actually open the program up for registration. Okay. Subcategories and age categories. So a subcategory is where this falls into the different types of main categories that we have. I don't know why they list them in this direction, sub and an activity, but we're going to go ahead and say that this is going to be a lesson. And we'll pick an activity category of enrichment, okay? So our super activity of fun is going to be an enrichment activity, and we're going to call it a lesson because you're going to learn skills. Then we need to pick an age category. So we have adult, all ages, early childhood, family, senior, teen, young adult, and youth. All right. So we'll do this as a youth category. And then we have our catalog description. Let's take a minute here to talk about the catalog description. All of these fancy things up at the top, I want you to ignore. In the catalog description, we need to have a good summary or syllabus is the wrong word, abstract of what this program is. So if it's a swim program and you're going to focus on floating, backstroke, learning whip kick, and something else, you would want to put that into the program description. Things that you want to leave out of here are things like dates, dates and times, instructor names, fees. All of those things will find its way to the program, but they're not going to find their way into the catalog description. I'm going to pause the recording here for a quick minute while I put something into the catalog description. Okay, so I've just typed in a quick description there. This super fun activity where participants will learn how to have fun doing super activities. Means nothing. Test environment. This is just a fun program that we're putting together. In the real world, you're going to want to have something that's going to entice the person to participate in your program. Now, as for all the rest of this stuff, bolding, underlining, font, sizes, styles, please just leave that blank. Just type in the information that needs to be there. If you want to have some bullet points, you can use some bullet points like bring a towel, water bottle, and good shoes. Okay? So you can use bullet points, but for the rest of the formatting, just please leave that blank. We'll scroll down a little bit, get to some financial information. Some of this stuff we're going to use, some of it won't. The expense GL account, we're going to leave blank. The deferred revenue settings are all going to stay as default. All right. If your program is a child care program and may be eligible for tax credits, we would use the tax receipt, turn that on. 99.9% of the time, this is not going to be the case. So before you turn this on, it would be a good idea to get some feedback from someone at the Association Services or one of your PLT program leaders. We'll scroll down here a little bit further. Third-party billing is the same way. Third-party billing is another one of those things that if you think that you want to turn it on, it's good to have a discussion with other folks. So we're going to get down here to meeting times, dates, and locations. So we're going to pick our site. Pick our site as Birmingham. Now, if I click the Don't Reserve Facility option, I need to put in a location description. So if I was not going to reserve a facility, this is a place within my building in which I'm going to hold this program, I need to click Don't Reserve Facility on and then type in where this is happening. Birmingham Family YMCA. Okay. Now I encourage you to actually do the facility reservation. So we're going to come down here to facilities and we're going to add a facility. And we're going to choose let's just do a classroom. Oh, that's Leadership Academy. We don't want that. Let's do Birmingham and search. And let's grab Fitness Studio A. Our super fun activity is going to happen in Fitness Studio A. Now what this is going to do is it's going to book Fitness Studio A for this time frame. The other thing that it does is when you look at this program online, now it knows where Birmingham Y Fitness Studio A is. So it's going to list that as an option or as the location online. Okay. Let's go ahead and set some dates here. This is going to be a simple program. This is going to happen on Wednesdays. And it's going to start June 5th. and it's going to run through July 31st. Okay? And it happens on the first, second, third, fourth, and last week of the month. If you had a program that meant like the second Thursday of every month, you could set it up like this. And it would happen only on the second Wednesday or the second Thursday or whatever day you select. But in this case, we want it to happen every single week between June 5th and July 31st. We'll do a start time of 10 a.m. and a duration of 2 hours. This is going to be a super, super fun time because it's happening for 2 hours. Setup time and cleanup time. If you get really fancy with your setups, you can play with these, but for right now, we're just going to leave them blank. We'll come down to our participant restrictions. We want gender can be male, female, non-binary, or mixed. So we're going to leave that to be mixed. Let's make this for 6 to 15-year-olds. So one of the things that happens a lot in these programs when you start to set ages is in a program where you have to be, let's say it's 6 to 15. The person must be younger than this age. So some people will go 15 years, 11 months, and 30 days. Please don't do that. The system is smart enough to know that if you say 16 years old, then this is going to be for people the ages of 6 to 15, up until the time they turn 16. Okay? So just use the whole numbers. The only time we need to use these months and months and weeks, is if the program is for somebody who is under the age of 1 year old. The other thing I see a lot of times that happens is if you have an adult program, let's say it's for 18 and up, we'll come in here and we'll do a maximum age of 99. Again, you don't need to do this. If you leave it as a 0, the system will just say 18 years old and up. And that's the better way to do it. Part of this is for consistency, so that when clients and members look at our listings on the internets, that they're going to see the same style of offering throughout the entire thing. That brings us down to our age calc date. So the age calc date comes into play a lot of times when we're working with school-aged programs. Maybe you want something that the child must be 6 years old by September 1st. Okay, so if you go 09, 01, 24, what the system will do is if the person is 5 years old on August 10th, and that's the day that you're registering, but they turn 6 on August 30th, then the system will know, hey, by September 1st, they're going to be 6 years old. So it will automatically say it's fine for this person to register because by the time the person starts the program, they're going to be 6 years old. Okay? Alternate key type and alternate key status, that gets us into some fancy registration that I'm going to cover in a series called Activities, Fancy Registration, and What You Need to Know. Participants, let's talk about mins and maxes. So the minimum participant is a budgetary number. This is to help you as a program director understand the enrollment of your program and what programs may be in danger of not meeting their budget or budgeted number. Okay. So whenever I do a program, I never budget for the program to need more than 80% enrollment. That's just me. That's my rule. That's the way I do it. So if we know that we're going to have a maximum of 10, our minimum might be 8. That would to say, when I run a report that says, show me programs that are under my minimum, which would be programs that would not meet budget, that's how this is determined. Other than that, for registration purposes, this doesn't mean anything. Okay, this is purely a reporting and management tool for you. Okay. Ignore maximum number of participants. If you wanted to have an unlimited number of participants in a program, you would check that box on. This is not a common occurrence in our world. We do have some programs that will do no maximum participation. But again, you want to make sure that you're consistent. And if you think that you want no maximum, maybe check with a senior program director or someone from Association Services, and we'll help walk you through that decision-making process. So we've got a couple of other things that happen down here. Trial classes are one of them. Trial classes will allow somebody to register for 1 or 2 sessions of the class. Again, see my session on fancy program and fancy program configuration, and we'll talk about trial classes. If you have an activity note that you want to put to the member or customer, if the program is full, you can do that here. So, sorry, this program is full. Please see our website for additional days and times. Okay? Again, try to ignore all of this formatting as much as you can. It gets us down into the enrollment dates and times. Now, you'll see that some of these are already pre-populated, and that is based on the session that we picked up here. So that's based on that. But we can override any of these that we'd like. So let's start with, what do all of these mean? First day and time in person. This is for non-members. So if you have a non-member program and you want, let's say you want the members to be able to start registering on March 1st, because we want our members to be able to register early. So our members are going to register March 1st. So we're going to do 04/01/24. Our March is 03/01/24. There we go. Non-members cannot register until March 15th. So we're going to go 03/15/24. Now, this non-resident means nothing to us in the YMCA. Active is designed to be used for YMCAs as well as community programs. So you're like city rec programs, and they may have a time in which residents and non-residents can register. Non-resident means nothing to us in our world. Okay. Last day and time in person. So if you want them to be able to do, you want to turn off registration at some point. So let's see, when did I start this program? I started this June 5th. I want them to be done by June 1st. Okay. Now we talk about the internet. So this top part, all of this through here, is all about the walk-up registration. Come into the building and register. Now we want to talk about the internet registration. So the internet registration is going to be, when can somebody start to register online? And in this case, I don't want my non-members registering until March 15th. So we're going to go 03/15/24. Okay. But I want my members to be able to start registering February 10th. 02/10/24. What we're doing here is we're saying to the customer, hey, I really want you to register for my program, but I would really rather you do it online. So if I make my online registration earlier than my walk-up registration, now I have the ability to say online registration begins February 10th. In-person or walk-up registration begins March 1st. Non-member registration begins March 15th. And you see how I make all of these similar. So my non-member, I don't give the non-member any benefit for online registration. It's just non-member registration starts March 15th. Then the last day on the internet is going to be the same as my last day in person. So that's going to be 06/01/24. Okay. That takes care of enrollment dates and times. We'll come down here to a couple of getting towards the end of our general setup. So user notes. This is something that the front desk person sees. No one else sees this. Only the person at the desk will see this. Okay, so maybe you have a note there to remind them of the first day of practice, or maybe you have a note there to remind them to bring a water bottle. Again, this is only ever seen by the person at the front desk. Online notes are going to be the notes that the customer will see during the registration process. Customer sees at the time of online registration. Okay, so this is part of the online registration process. The final one is the receipt notes, and I'm pretty sure you guys can guess what this is. This note appears on the receipt, on the, let's say, printed receipt, printed emailed receipt. Okay, so if you want something to remind them that payments are due 10 days prior to start of program, and you want that to be on all the receipts, regardless of online or walk-up, if you put that receipt, or if you put that note in the receipt notes, that's where that will appear. All right, online withdrawal and transfer. We don't allow for online withdrawals and transfers, so we're just going to leave those as default. We have some options down here. If we wanted no internet registration, we would turn that on. If we wanted to hide from search results, we would turn that on. Again, these are things that we don't encourage. So if you think that you want no internet registration, again, you should probably talk to your PMT leaders, talk to someone at Association Services. We'll help you through that process of making the determination of whether or not you want it to be registered online or not. All right. So there's a couple of things that we're going to tick off here. One of them is, where is it? We want to have this show up in the Captivate app. Well, we're not in the live environment, and we don't have Captivate turned on for the test environment. So there is a checkbox here that will show on the Captivate app. So you want to make sure that that is on. Show system generated prices online. You're going to want to turn that on as well. Display on an online calendar. If you're starting to use online calendars, you would want to turn that on to one of the online calendars. And that's about it for these options. So for the most part, you want to make sure that system generated pricing is online. If you're going to do it as a new program that's on a calendar, you're going to select one of those programs calendars here. And then in the live environment, we'll show you how to turn the Captivate option on so that members can enroll on the app. Scroll down a little bit further. Last thing we need to do is we need to pick an instructor. So we'll pick me as the instructor, and then we are going to click Save. So that is the very basic, very first thing that happens under this change detail. Really, it's most of these first four have just been completed. In our next series, we're going to jump into prerequisites and fees. We'll probably focus more on fees than we will on prerequisites. And other than that, we're going to go through these one by one and try to get you guys understanding the building of programs and how to deal and manage those a little bit better. All right, hopefully that was informative for you. Thank you for joining me. I know this one went a little long, but there's a lot of information to cover here. Stand by for part 2, where we're going to talk about fees And once again, thank you for attending this self-paced training.